This is my Lego safe. It's a cube, 14 studs on each side. It's made completely out of Lego. It's got a slot at the top for you, so you can put coins in. So here's a £1 coin, will just about fit in there. There it goes. So it's locked at the moment. It's got a small combination lock inside the door. So each of these dials has 14 combinations. So I just turn those to enter the combination. So that's a total of about 3,000 combinations or so. For space reasons, unlike on a real safe where you enter the combinations using a single dial, this one has 3 separate dials. And so I turn them all to the correct combination, and then I can open the door. You can see from here that the door is quite thick, 2 studs of solid Lego in effect. The body is also 2 studs thick everywhere. It's quite chunky and strong. You can see the locking mechanism inside here. It's got 2 locking bolts that engage with the body here, and then we can close that and lock it again. You can see that the inside looks quite busy, so you've got all these pieces going on here and fences and whatnot, and the reason for that is because I wanted to make a safe that hinges and where the door fits completely within the body. I had to find a way of making a tiny gap here, so you can just about see there's a tiny gap, and that's quite tricky to do, and that's why it looks so busy. So we can close that, and then you can lock that again, and that's locked. Now of course this safe wouldn't be terribly secure if you could just pull the pieces apart, so other than some aesthetic pieces such as the plates at the top and these pieces here, it's designed so that the pieces interlock in such a way that it's very difficult to disassemble without the risk of breaking pieces. So when I assemble the safe, the top and the bottom go together, and they're held together by lift arms. So it's these pieces here in orange. There's 4, and they just go from the top to the bottom, and they effectively clamp down the body and the door and stop you being able to pry it open and pull pieces off as well. The top has these Technic pieces. They've got pins and axles going through them so that you can't really remove anything, and everything there is held in place as well here. So you can see that there's some pins here, and that's because of these spacers that just stop you being able to push things into the inside the safe to try and get it open. The door also follows the same thing, so the pieces, these ones for instance, you can't really push them in or pull them out without breaking them. This is an axe, actually a minifig axe. When the door is locked, if you try to force it open by forcibly turning this, you won't be able to open the door. On this one there's a clutch inside that will slip and the door will just effectively stay shut. On this one there's a weak link inside the boltwork that will just pop if you forcibly turn it. But from the outside, to stop me from accidentally doing that, then you'll just see the wheel slips on the axle. That's how I know if I'm applying too much force. On these pieces, you can pull them out, but it's very difficult to do. You in effect need pliers to do it. That's because these have friction. These are friction pins, that's why they're blue. Lego only seem to make them in blue. And when you put a piece of Flexos in there, which is what this has, it's actually remarkably difficult to pull it out of the brick. So I can turn that there. So you can see the construction. So if I open this door now, let's just enter the combination again. Up there, up there. You can see that it's quite strong and sturdy. I can't really pull it apart. Also the slot for the money inside, you can see it extends further down because it's been designed to be, well, I want to make it as difficult as possible to reach something in there and try to mess around with the locking mechanism by putting something in. It's partly why it's got this plate here, which is transparent, so it looks nice. And it stops you being able to access the mechanism from the inside, but you can still see it. So I'll go on to that soon. The way I assemble this is, I can't show it now, but the top and the bottom go together with the lift arms, and then the sides are actually separate, so you can see that there's a seam that actually goes down the back, and that's because the back and the top and the bottom go together, and then I actually push these two walls together and they fit in with pins and things. And then I put some plates inside the door, and that actually holds these together and stops them being pulled apart again. So when the door is locked, there isn't a way to access that, and it's very difficult to take the safe apart. There's a few, so this safe has a different locking mechanism, as does this one, so you can make a variety of ones. These are all combination locks, but I also have some keyed ones, like this one. This one cheats because it uses a rubber band, but in this one you can turn it when it's locked and it won't do anything. This one has a slightly different locking mechanism, but the principle is very similar. So on this one I take a little key, you can see it's got 4, so that's close to 40,000 combinations, and I just turn these and I line up the red with the red on there, like so, and then I can open the door. Let's just turn that to show you that this one's slightly different inside. So now I've entered the correct combination, and then I can turn that and the door opens. This one's higher security, so it's got 3 locking bolts instead of 2, and this one also has fixed hinge bolts, and these engage in there. So the idea is that when the door is shut, even if the hinges are removed, you still can't open the door, and that's similar to like on a real safe, which is kind of what we want. So let me show you. You can actually take the door off, so I can try out different kinds of doors. And the way I do that is I just take this top bit off. Let me just remove these pieces like that. To expose the hinges, I just remove the bottom one as well, and there's just about enough room to be able to pop that hinge up, and you can see the door kind of pulls down, and then open this up, and then I can just take this thing off. Should actually show you with the other door, because that one's got the hinge bolts. For convenience, when closing it, this one actually doesn't have the hinge bolts because it makes it more tricky to shut. And they still can shut. In a previous model, I actually I didn't know how to make a hinged door yet, how to create this gap. So the door was in effect just made to stay 10 studs wide, but because there wasn't any space at all to close the door with a hinge, I had this thing, so you close it like this and then you've just got enough room to kind of push it in by one stud. But on this side you can't have fixed bolts, so all 4 bolts on this one have to retract, and that was quite a pain to make, and the thing frequently jammed. So you can see it's a very involved, complicated mechanism and very thick, whereas this one's very simple to use. Let me just show you what this one actually looks like. Let's put it on here inside. So it's very similar to a real safe. So you have the locking bolts, of course, you have the bolt work that moves backwards and forwards. Now the safe is open, so it can do so. This thing's called a fence, and it's got some spaces here which are flowers. That's why you can see flowers here. And when the door's locked, if I turn the combination, you can see how the fence goes up, and that blocks the bolt from being able to retract. So once I've turned it to the correct combination, you can see how that bolt just goes down. The fence just goes down, and that allows me to retract the bolt work. So an interesting challenge here, I guess, with something like this is, can you find a way to design a Lego mechanism, or some kind of Lego computer that's designed to try to pick this lock in a faster way than just trying all the combinations. So it could do something like tapping, or just some acoustic thing to listen in or otherwise. So that was an interesting challenge there. And I guess in general the design is something like a puzzle box. So the aim here is, can you find a way to break into this, to effectively crack it, without trying all the combinations and without breaking any pieces. So that'll be interesting, how easy that is to actually do. Okay, thanks for watching, hope that's been interesting, and I'll try and make some more videos in the future.